Okay, so you can hardly see me. This is Tom B from Old Tom's Wormery. This is my big worm bin. Sometimes I call it the Heart's Delight because here in the Silicon Valley, before it was Silicon Valley, it was called the Heart's Delight because of the beautiful fruit trees and the wonderful weather. So I'm standing here in November and it's this beautiful, almost summer day. So I'm standing here leaning on my the worm bin that we started just last week. And you can see that I did decide to make a lid for it. The lid is just a sheet of plywood. This sheet of plywood actually came off a pallet. You could do prettier. You could also put some varnish and paint on it, make it last a little longer. Historically, these wooden lids tended to rot away faster because they get the condensation on them. So we're gonna pop the lid, and then you'll see that I have now a worm blanket, a full worm blanket in there. It's actually a little bit of baby blanket, and then that grain bag that you saw last week. That helps hold the moisture into the bed and lets the worms enjoy the surface because they feel protected. In the bed, what you'll see is that I added another layer of the horse manure compost. When I went and looked in the bed the next day, the next 2 days, it had settled. It was 4 inches or less. And I wanted a little more depth for the comfort of the worms. So I wetted some of that horse manure compost, dumped it in, spread it out, put the worm blanket back on there. And I came out this morning and the worms are all spread around, looking pretty happy. What you're going to find when we see the happy worms is there's just not enough of them. They will mature. They're still about half grown. They will then start laying eggs and they will densely populate this bin, but with the few worms that are in there, it just is going to take too long. I want it to go faster, and so I've got another bin of worms down here, a little bit, about a month younger than the ones that are in here. I'll toss those in, and it will at least double my rate of worm establishment. And it just will be a better looking bin because the worms will be that much thicker, that much faster. So I'm hoping that you like my bin. I hope that you're impressed with how I grow worms. You'll find out in the coming weeks as I start to feed them. Do I overheat them and kill them, or do we do a wonderful feeding and they multiply as hoped? This is biology, and it sometimes cooperates and sometimes doesn't. So let's take a look. Lid coming off. We'll just drop it behind. Okay. Thank you, Paul. Okay, I'm going to tip the camera in. Hopefully it reaches and you can see. So now you can see inside the bed. You can see we still have the grain bag. That's coming out. We have the baby blanket. That's coming out. Baby blanket is convenient because when it gets dirty, it's polyester. You just dunk it in water and squeeze it out and that gets it clean. And you can see my bed here. It's again that horse manure compost, and I've got a few very healthy, happy worms in there. There you go. These are again the European night crawlers, and so they're this size, and they're starting to become adults. I see the formation of some clitellum on them, but they're still pretty small. They'll be getting at least another half size bigger. So, given this concentration of worms, I want more. And so you'll see me dump in another batch of worms. Let's go for it. And you can see the sunshine gives me some contrast problems. All right. Bin of worms. Oops, did we lose that little Post-it? I was going to comment on the Post-it. See if it dropped behind that one. Post-it disappeared. The comments I was going to make was just talking about the scheduling of this. These guys, I believe the eggs were set to hatch starting on the 11th of October. So here it is just about a month later, and the worms are now populating nicely. Let's see if we can get, I don't know how good I can do this. There you go. The worms are populating nicely. They're about half the size of the worms that are in there already. And they're about the same number of worms, if not a little more, because this was the second set for hatching, and so my adult worms were laying a little bit faster. In they go. After the video, I'll go through this bin because I've got lots of worms that stick to the plastic. I'll get them out of there. We then spread those around just because we like playing with the worms.
That's more.
I think I'm going to let it go because Paul is asking if I'm going to add another layer of the manure compost, and it's complete toss-up. I mean, there's no art in this yet. When it gets full and I get consistent and I have it on a schedule, then I'll know. But I'm assuming that most of these, as we get established, you watch and you feed them as you can. Paul is my source of vegetable and food scraps from a pulper up north. When I throw in the food scraps, the worms launch. And the worry is that it could, with overfeeding is overheating. And so it becomes this balance of launching the worms, making them way happy, and not making the compost so happy that it cooks the worms. For now, I'm going to let these guys get established, and I'll bet that later this week I'll throw in a couple of stripes of food. By putting in stripes of food, if they overheat, there's just one stripe is the overheating, and then there's a place where there's no food and the worms could go to hide. And then every time I feed, I'll lay in some bedding and lay stripes of food. See as we go each week, does it need more bedding? Does it need more food? Does it please need both? But we'll put in what it needs as it needs it. So I'll talk to you soon, probably in a week. All right, thanks for watching.